Welcome to the channel. Welcome to today's run through of all the latest Manchester United news and transfer updates, keeping you right up to date with everything. I'm Jamie. Before getting into it, smash a like on the video, subscribe to the channel if you're new. Let's jump straight into it. So there's been an explosion of news. I'm going to start with the Kobbie Mainoo situation. Yesterday, the report came out from Alex Crook and Graham Bailey, I think it was, suggesting that maybe Kobbie Mainoo wasn't happy, or United would look to potentially cash in on him. And then overnight, and even today, there's been an update from Ornstein, Romano, everything like that regarding Kobbie Mainoo and his situation. So I'm going to start there. So first of all, Andy Mitten, very well connected at United, very good journalist and source of information, said that Kobbie, from the people I've spoken to, would be surprised if he went. But I think if United got a big offer for him now, I think Manchester United would absolutely consider selling him. So according to Andy Mitten, he's saying, look, from people he's spoken to, he'd be surprised if he left. But if we got a big offer for Kobbie Mainoo, then we would consider selling him, which I find, alarming, because Like we need midfielders anyway, and it makes no sense to me to sell Mainoo. Mainoo should be the last midfielder we consider selling ahead of Ugarte, Casemiro, and Bruno Fernandes, in my opinion. But I suppose then on the flip side, everyone's for sale. Everyone's got their price. We would have sold Bruno if he wanted to go to Saudi. So I don't think Kobbie Mainoo is immune from that neither. I don't think we have anybody that's unsellable, barring a couple of players. But yeah, that's a bit alarming. So Andy Mitten saying, yeah, we would sell him if we got an offer for him, or a big offer for him. And then this came out from Chris Wheeler in the Daily Mail, saying that Manchester United appears to have three options. One, try to oust Fernandes from the team. Good luck doing that. Two, buy this time on the premises that Amorim doesn't work out and United are forced to change manager again. You can tell me what you think about that in the comments. Or three, consider a future away from his boyhood club. The latter has been more of a possibility than fans realise for some time now, amid a contract impasse that has dragged on for more than a year. So Chris Wheeler effectively saying, look, Kobbie Mainoo's got three choices. You either try and get into the team ahead of Bruno Fernandes, because Amorim himself has come out and said, well, he's competing with Bruno, and then he won't substitute Bruno when he's having a bad game. He's not going to drop Bruno neither. So good luck, Kobbie Mainoo, getting minutes in this team, because if you're competing with a player that's never injured, never going to get dropped, and his club captain, you're probably going to find a few appearances in the Carabao Cup this year, which I find... I don't agree. I don't agree because I don't like Bruno Fernandes and Casemiro as a midfield partnership as well. But I definitely don't agree. The one issue I have at the moment, because I've read all your comments and stuff from yesterday's video, and I know there's a few people that are not happy with Amorim and stuff like that as well, right? And I understand the concerns and the reasons why. I have concerns as well, but my biggest concern is favouritism. I do not like favouritism at Man United. It's exactly what Erik ten Hag did, and it caused a lot of problems. Look at the Jadon Sancho situation, for example. So while I disagree with the way Sancho acted by putting his social media post out and then refusing to apologise for it and come back from it, right, I totally disagree with airing your dirty laundry, but you'll know that if you've watched any of my previous videos as well. It's one of my biggest gripes. I don't like that element of United and the club and stuff. I don't like it, regardless of who it is. It's the same with Garnacho. Don't like the fact that all of this has been aired out in public, right? But the argument that he was making, I do agree with, because effectively he was saying, look, I don't know what I need to do to get in this first team because players are playing in front of me that are shit and they're still playing in front of me, i.e. what he was basically saying is Erik ten Hag will pick Antony regardless of how bad he plays on the pitch, and I have no pathway into the first team. That's effectively what Sancho was saying, and I don't disagree with his argument. I just don't like the way he went about doing it, because I don't think that's the way you should act as a Manchester United player personally, and then the fact he's refused to apologise about it, and then everything that's happened since. But the argument he was making, I do agree with, and I don't like this situation brewing with Kobbie Mainoo, because I do not like managers picking favourites regardless of how they perform on the pitch. Every single player at Manchester United should go on the pitch and prove themselves. So, if Bruno Fernandes plays against, I don't think he's going to play tomorrow against Grimsby, I imagine we're going to rotate the team quite heavily, and I imagine he's going to give minutes to people like Xerxes and maybe Onana, hopefully Kobbie Mainoo, Ugarte, Sesko. Like, I think he's going to use it as almost like a mini pre-season game to try and get minutes in the legs of players that haven't played that much so far this season. Harry Maguire, Aiden Heaven, maybe Fredrickson, if Mazraoui's still not available, and so on and so forth, right? But then against Burnley, if Kobbie Mainoo plays well and he performs better than what Bruno Fernandes has so far at the start of this season, if Bruno still starts in the Burnley game, then that will stink of favouritism, in my opinion. And I think that will create problems at the club because we're all humans and we've all got biases and we've all got opinions. And if you're watching someone perform badly in front of you, that you're not getting any game time, it's going to cause upset. And I don't like that. I don't like the situation that's brewing. So hopefully players can just start performing well, and then we don't have to have this conversation, and we can be like, well, Mainoo's not playing because Bruno's absolutely smashing it, but he's just not at the moment, and it creates this problem. But give us your thoughts on that in the comments. So Chris Wheeler. Going back to Chris Wheeler. So he's not gonna oust Bruno Fernandes. He's not gonna, he's either gonna have to wait for Amorim to get sacked and hope the next manager comes in and plays a different system or a different formation, or he's gonna have to leave. And Chris Wheeler's saying, more possible than fans realise for some time now because of his contract dispute. Chris Wheeler also went on to say that Kobbie Mainoo is understood to be weighing up his options as 10 top clubs from Premier League and around Europe are monitoring his situation closely. Fabrizio Romano on the situation first, he said, I'm not aware of Kobbie Mainoo as of today communicating to Manchester United any desire to leave the club. At the moment, the situation remains under control. Months ago, Man United were very close to reaching an agreement with Kobbie Mainoo over a new contract. Then what happened is Dan Ashworth, who was leading those negotiations, left the club, and then came new directors. And so far, Man United was time So for Manchester United, it was time to restart. New manager Ruben Amorim. So the word around Kobbie Mainoo changed, or the word around Kobbie Mainoo changed. So effectively, Romano saying that look, we were close to doing it and agreeing a new contract with Dan Ashworth. Dan Ashworth's obviously been sacked. Now we've got Ruben Amorim in a new direction because Jason Wilcox now the director of football. Has that changed his situation as well? And plus, I think with terms of contract negotiation, when he started his contract negotiation, he was pretty much a first-team player playing alongside Casemiro, and his agent and him would have been able to demand a big wage, especially when you're saying, well, hold on, I'm playing the same amount of minutes as Casemiro, and he's on 300-odd grand a week. I'm only on 20 grand a week, and there was all the reports around 180-odd thousand pounds a week, although I do think they were debunked, but he's still going to want a significant pay rise for a first-team player, and now he's not in the first-team player. Where does that stand in terms of his contract? Who knows? But we'll have to wait and see. Now, David Ornstein has also said that Kobbie Mainoo is open to leaving Manchester United. Head coach Ruben Amorim seems to prefer other midfielders, and the England international has entered the final 24 months of his Old Trafford contract. The issue is where Mainoo goes, as there do not appear to be many options ahead of this market closing. So even David Ornstein is now saying that Kobbie Mainoo is open to leaving United because of his pathway into the first team, and if his pathway to the first team is being blocked because Bruno Fernandes is playing there, and I don't have an issue with that because no player at Man United should have the divine right to step on the pitch, regardless of whether you're a youth product or not. But my issue with that is the performances. If Bruno Fernandes is performing the way that he is, I think Kobbie Mainoo's got every right to be demanding minutes and saying, well, why am I not being given an opportunity as well? But obviously, we're only 2 games into the season. We do need to wait and get a bit of consistency and see how it all plays out. But definitely alarming, especially if like I said, David Ornstein's getting in on the situation as well. Fabrizio Romano in a video today said that Kobbie is not happy to be on the bench, and then after the game you see the coach saying he has to compete with Bruno, who is an important player in the squad, almost a guaranteed starter. For Mainoo, it is not good news. No active talks or negotiations to leave the club, and I think he's right. I think Romano is right. I think we're creating a bit of a situation here with the whole Mainoo Fernandes situation, but yeah, we're just going to have to wait and see how it all plays out. And then Simon Stone, who's a good source as well, said there is no indication that Kobbie Mainoo is pushing to leave Manchester United at this time. However, contract extension talks have stalled and are unlikely to restart unless he can convince Ruben Amorim that he's either an upgrade on Bruno Fernandes or effective in a different role. So what a shitstorm, what an absolute mess we've created here, because, this is a situation that didn't actually need to be created neither, realistically, because I know some of you think Bruno Fernandes should be in midfield, but I think he's a number 10 personally, and then we bought more number 10s to push Bruno back, and now Bruno Fernandes is potentially leading to a situation where Kobbie Mainoo's not happy and not getting game times. And again, no player has the divine right to get minutes at Manchester United. And to be fair, and to be balanced a little bit, Kobbie Mainoo was poor last season as well. I remember games, and I was doing like player ratings and stuff as well, where he was, average at best sometimes. So he wasn't exactly performing outstanding last season. But he's a young player, and not every young player has inconsistencies. They just do. They're at that age where, they're maturing. They need to understand the game, and you do get that with young players. But he wasn't exactly, outstanding. I remember seeing online people saying Kobbie Mainoo's got no legs, he's got no pace, and, he shouldn't be starting games, and he's a liability in midfield. And now all of a sudden the tables have turned. Like, Kobbie's got things to prove, and he needs to prove himself. He shouldn't be guaranteed to be getting into the first team. But the issue that I have is, where is his pathway into the first team if Bruno Fernandes is not going to get punished or dropped or rotated or substituted even when he's absolutely stinking the gaff out? That's my concern with everything that's going on at the moment. But we'll just have to wait and see how it all plays out. Give us your thoughts and feelings on that, though, in the comments below, because it'll be really interesting to hear how you feel about the situation as well. Now, stick with Bruno. Bruno Fernandes is seriously considering an offer from Al Ittihad. Now, that came from sources connected to Saudi Arabia. I have no idea the credibility, reposted by some aggregator accounts. One of them's got like over a million followers as well. So I'm going to assume that they're fairly decent. And then Bruno Fernandes' representatives are aware of Al Ittihad's interest. They have been directly approached. However, Manchester United remain calm about the situation and are yet to receive any contact. No club-to-club is expected unless Fernandes changes his mind about Saudi this summer. He was firm with Al Hilal and Al Nassr that he wanted to stay at Manchester United for at least another year. Al Ittihad also need a sale before considering bidding for a big name. So that came from Ben Jacobs, suggesting that, yes, there is interest from Saudi and Bruno. I think that's going to be consistent now, especially with the with the bids and everything that he's rejected. He wants to stay for one more year. And again, that is what infuriates me about the midfield situation at the moment, is we're playing Casemiro's in the last year of his contract and potentially Bruno Fernandes when it's his last year. Although Bruno probably deserves a little bit of credit. He's got credit in the bank because, he's been one of our best players since we signed him. So there is that to consider as well. But I don't like the fact that potentially we're playing those two who have not really got potentially a long-term future at United ahead of two midfielders that potentially could have a long-term future at United in Mainoo and Ugarte. I just think it's insane, the decision-making there at the moment. But we'll have to wait and see, because again, things could all change after the international break. Although I think it's unlikely before that. I don't think he's gonna make changes for Burnley. Although we'll have to wait and see what happens there. And then sticking with the midfield. The Athletic on their deal sheet this morning said that despite a summer of links to midfielders, there's no guarantee of reinforcements arriving before next Monday's deadline. An athletic, dynamic midfielder has consequently been on United's list all summer, with Brighton and Hove Albion's Carlos Baleba considered the ideal target. While alternatives such as Adam Wharton and Morten Hulman are admired, no interest is advanced. So whether we're going to get some late scrambling around for a midfielder once we get some exits done, potentially, because maybe we do need the money in order to get a midfielder, but at this moment in time, the Athletic is saying that it's not guaranteed we're going to bring in a midfielder, which is a concern. I do think we need somebody, a body in there as well. But give us your thoughts and feelings on that in the comments below. Now, one area that we're looking like we weren't going to strengthen, that we did need to strengthen, is the goalkeeper situation. So let's run through the latest regarding Seny Lamens. So Laurie Whitwell on why United decided to go for a goalkeeper, which I found interesting. So he said, this represents a change, a development for United, as they were saying they wouldn't spend significant money on a goalkeeper unless André Onana was sold. That has not happened, and I don't think he will be sold. I think he is going to stay at United beyond this transfer window. United have still decided to go for a goalkeeper because Amorim and all the hierarchy, all the way up to Jim Ratcliffe, have decided they need to address that situation. I think they decided to go for a goalkeeper that they've been tracking for a while to see if adding him into the mix can raise the level of Onana. or Lemens be, or if Lemens will be the number one as well. So effectively, it looks like everyone at United, including Sir Jim Ratcliffe, has looked at the goalkeeper situation and said, holy shit, we need to bring in a goalkeeper, under the assumption that either it gives Onana a kick up the backside to stop throwing the ball in the back of the net, or gives Bayinda a run for his money for stop flapping it at crosses or corners into the penalty area, or stop throwing it in your own net as well. Or as a way to potentially, if they don't, well, then off you go. You'll get your opportunity in goal as well. So that's according to Laurie Whitwell. So we've just decided anyway, well, let's just bring him in and give them more competition and give them all a rocket up their ass. And if they don't perform, then we've got, hopefully a good goalkeeper to come in as the new number one as well. Now, reports from Belgium are saying that Galatasaray are making intense efforts to sign Senny Lemens. They are trying to prevent Lemens from going to United. And Galatasaray are looking at a goalkeeper as well. But another report from Belgium, though, said that Galatasaray have produced an increased offer for Senny Lemens, but the player prefers Manchester United, which is a bit relieving. Now, at the time of recording as well, Mike McGrath, who's decent, come out saying that Manchester United have more work to do on personal terms with Senny Lemens. His representatives were in England last week. Royal Antwerp value him at around 25 to 30 million euros. So we are in negotiations or contract negotiations and stuff regarding Senny Lemens, and I've not heard anything from anywhere more credible suggesting that this deal isn't going to go through. Romano's still saying that he wants to come, we want him. We're just working out the personal terms and all the issues there as well. But going back to Onana, caught offside, is saying that Galatasaray have begun initial discussions to assess the availability of André Onana. So is this a situation where now we're bringing a goalkeeper in? Will it put a rocket in the ass of Onana to say, well, holy shit, I'm not playing anyway, because Bayinda's started, obviously, the Premier League games this season, although I do expect Onana to start tomorrow night. That's just my opinion, though. And we'll wait and see how that plays out. But I do think he's waiting to give him some minutes. Galatasaray interested in a goalkeeper, although they are going for Ederson. But if they can't get that deal done, maybe they could pivot to Onana. Maybe they are looking at Senny Lemens as well, because they clearly want to bring in a goalkeeper. Indy Kalia. Now, I apologise for bringing this in, right? But I did some research because I'm still not on the hype train. But David Ornstein gave him a shout out for breaking the Carlos Baleba news. Then also did an interview on TV saying he's met him and is actually credible. And Sky Sports have done a piece on him as well, saying that actually, no, they are fairly credible. I'm still not on the bandwagon, but the reason I'm bringing this in is because there's other places that are now seem to be saying that Indy Kalia is a credible source. I don't go along with that personally. However, I don't want to judge a book by its cover. They were saying that just been told Real Betis have made inquiries for André Onana. I don't think the Betis can't afford Antony's wages. There's no way they're going to go anywhere near André Onana, who's actually on more money than Antony as well, which is insane. So yeah, I can't see that being true, but that's the reason why I wanted to bring it. And I've done some research regarding Indy Kalia as well. I'm still not on the hype train, but he is getting reposted and stuff by aggregators and all over the place at the moment, but we'll wait and see. Graham Bailey said that intermediaries have held active talks with a number of clubs about a loan deal for André Onana, and we can confirm one of those clubs is West Ham United. Onana's position on his future at United has changed in the last week. Whilst he understood why he was not called up to face Arsenal, the decision to leave him out against Fulham shocked him and a number of teammates as well. So maybe is Ruben Amorim doing a Rasmus Højlund on Onana and just saying, well, these are going to be your minutes. Bayinda's trained all pre-season and played all the games in pre-season in goal as well. Yes, he made a mistake against Arsenal, but I'm going to continue and stick with him and give him his opportunity because I gave you plenty of opportunities last season and you kept throwing the ball in the back of the net as well as a bit of a wake-up call. Plus, we're bringing in Senny Lemens as well, and has that now forced Onana to sit there and think, well, actually, am I going to get any game time? And if I'm not, maybe he won't go to the AFCON or the World Cup and reassess his situation as well. So could maybe Ruben Amorim be doing something like that with Onana? I did say before, one of the way to force some players out is to bring players in their position and give them more competition. It's what we should be doing with the midfielder to force Casemiro out, in my opinion. We should be bringing somebody in and say, well, he's my number one, number 6, or he's going to be my number one partner for Bruno. good luck getting game time, and then Ugati's going to be second, and Mainoo third, or whatever the situation is. A way to force players out, and is Amorim trying to do something like that, or is the club trying to do that by bringing in Senny Lamens, but then also Amorim by picking Bayenda in front of him as well? We'll have to wait and see. Although I do expect. I think it's just because he's not played any preseason minutes yet, and he doesn't want to throw him in at the deep end without playing him. I think he'll play tomorrow night, and then we'll have to see how he gets on from there. But give us your shouts on the goalkeeper situation in the comments below. There's been an absolute flurry of activity regarding exits, as you would imagine. It's getting towards the end of the transfer window. We know all the players that with the bomb squad that we want to sell have all been waiting towards the end of the transfer window so that they can get their moves to their specific clubs, refusing to go to other clubs. And then we know the clubs that want to buy these players have been waiting to the end of the transfer window so they can take the piss out of us and go for low ball prices and stuff. So let's run through all the latest regarding the exits. So firstly, with Rasmus Højlund, negotiations between Napoli and Man United are at final stages on loan deal with buy option clause to become mandatory. Talks underway with Rasmus Højlund and his camp over personal terms again today, and with Napoli and Antonio Conte pushing to get this done. So Fabrizio Romano saying, we're at the final stages of that loan deal. It's going to be a loan with an option that will become obligation depending on performance things like goals, appearances, Champions League football, and so on. Di Marzio said that Napoli is open to including a mandatory purchase clause to secure Rasmus Højlund tied to appearances, goals, and Champions League qualification. Deal worth a total of 45 million euros. Sean Connolly has said Rasmus Højlund is set for a season-long loan to Napoli, costing them around £4 million to United. Højlund and Man United prefer a permanent move, which Napoli will consider if certain KPIs are met this season. These KPIs are the reason for the hold-up. Potential permanent fee, £33 to £38 million, as United aim to balance the book for Højlund. So £4 million loan fee, according to Sean Connolly, plus £33 to £38 million obligation to buy if he meets certain performance markers as well. So something looks like it's getting closer. Di Marzio has since come out saying that Napoli are working to finalise the agreements with Manchester United for the deal of Højlund. The goal is to reach an agreement today. There is confidence this can be done. So maybe by the time you're watching this video, we might have an announcement, or here we go. I'll double check any updated news at the end of the video. But it looks like that one's getting close to a conclusion. Rasmus Højlund going to Napoli on loan with an option to buy that turns into an obligation to buy after certain performances is going off of, it's going to be the deal going off of the reports. But also, obviously, when it goes through, we'll get more details around the deal if and when it goes through. So let's go through the Antony situation. So Sky Sports are saying up to now, Betis have been unable to match United's preference for Antony. They do not want to do another straight loan. They want a permanent element attached to any deal. So far, Betis have proposed creative loans. So Sky was saying up until now, Betis have not been able to match what we want, which is a permanent deal or a loan with an obligation to buy. I think they would accept with a majority of his wages, if not all of his wages covered, but he's probably going to have to take a pay cut in order to do that. And that's the messy situation that it is regarding this Betis deal. But it's what Antony wants, and what Antony wants, Antony will probably get, because he's been refusing deals elsewhere as well. So we'll have to do something regarding Betis and Antony. Laurie Whitwell with The Athletic was saying that United are expected to hold firm on only considering a permanent sale rather than another loan for Antony amid recent renewed push by Real Betis. And I hope that is true. I hope we end up doing that, or an obligation to buy, worst case scenario. None of this straight loan, you pay all of his wages bollocks that we've been hearing recently as well. But I would love United to grow some balls. No, we're not even grow balls. We're in a difficult position with PSR rules, and we do have to, we have to maintain that. Otherwise, you're facing point deductions and fines and stuff. But I'd love it if we were in a position where we could show some balls and just not sell these, not do loan deals for these players. Because I think it would be a massive statement from United to do that. But I don't think we're financially in a position where we can do that, unfortunately. But as much as I would love it, and I know some of you would in the comments as well. And then we've had some Spanish outlets close to Betis saying Real Betis have submitted their final offer for Antony, a loan deal. Manchester United must respond today. Betis are pushing for a loan deal for Antony with a 2026 reassessment option, but it hinges on Antony cutting his high salary, Manchester United lowering demands, and Betis sticking to their budget for a temporary move. Decision expected by Tuesday. So again, two Spanish sources close to Real Betis saying a similar thing. One, that Betis have made made their final offer to United, and then secondly that they want a loan deal with an assessment option. What even is that? Obligation to buy maybe, or an option to buy. Antony needs to reduce his wages. We need to reduce the what an absolute shit show this deal is. It's just really infuriating me, so I'm going to move on. Mike McGrath said agreement in principle for Antony to return to Real Betis according to Spanish sources. Talks have been over a deal where the 25-year-old Brazil forward to eventually move permanently after initial loan. So Mike McGrath is saying that here, according to him and his sources in Spain, the agreement has been done in principle for Antony to go back to Betis. So it looks like loan obligation to buy. So we'll have to wait and see how that one plays out. And then Sam C, though, has said that Manchester United have received a bid in the last hour from Real Betis for Antony. Manchester United have not yet responded to the offer. Antony hoping for Betis return. So Betis have made a bid, according to the latest on Antony. We don't know the details of the bid, talks of loans, potentially loans with an obligation to buy, or creative loans, as Sky Sports were saying. He'd have to potentially take a pay cut to go. It's just a shit show, isn't it? But hopefully we can get some movement on this. So if they've made a bid, and the other report suggesting that we want to get a decision today, then hopefully we can hear some movement hear some stories or get an update on regarding that, because we do need to get a move on with some exits. It's absolutely infuriating me. So let's move on to Garnacho. David Ornstein said that Alejandro Garnacho is expected to end up at Chelsea. A couple of bids have been rejected so far, but talks continue with an anticipation that this materialises even on deadline day. Brilliant. Manchester United remain firm on their £50 million valuation of Alejandro Garnacho. Chelsea have seen multiple bids rejected and are still far from that figure, though all sides anticipate reaching a compromise by the end of the week. That came from Alex Crook and Ben Jacobs, suggesting that with Chelsea is still lowballing us. We're still holding on for £50 million. There'll be a compromise. It'll meet in the middle somewhere, but it's probably going to go down to the wire because he doesn't want to go anywhere else. Garnacho, Romano was saying that he's rejected recent offers from Saudi Arabia as well because he only wants to go to Chelsea. And on both, Andy Mitten said, I think Garnacho will go to Chelsea, but they are nowhere near what Manchester United want at the moment in terms of their offer. Real Betis want Antony, but they are nowhere near what Manchester United want either. Brilliant. So we're just going to get mugged off at the end of the transfer window because the players hold all the cards, they hold all the power, and we're just going to end up doing shit. Like, I just hope we can get the best of we can. Obligation to buy for Antony minimum, and Garnacho got to be more than £30 million, surely, like with all the prices that other players are going for as well. But we'll just have to see how it all plays out. And on Jadon Sancho has agreed to join Borussia Dortmund, but the directors, Sebastian Keller and Lars Ricken, have rejected the move. Now, that came from Florian Plettenberg. So apparently, Sancho's backup option might no longer be a backup option for him going back to Dortmund because the directors have said no. They've rejected the move, even though he's potentially agreed to join. How can you agree to join someone, but then the directors say no? Surely the directors have to agree to the deal unless they do something weird in Dortmund. I have no idea there as well. So again, that could then force Sancho to maybe take up the Roma offer that's on the card still. They're waiting for his decision. We know he's got interest from Turkey as well, but then their transfer window closes a little bit later than the rest as well, so potentially that could be an option if he's still not got movement by the end of the transfer window. But we'll just have to wait and see. But hopefully, like I said, the transfer window's closing next week anyway, so we're gonna know by then what's going on with the exits, unless we do get some stragglers where Saudi Pro Leagues come in at the end or Turkish teams come in at the end. But then we'll have to wait and see whether or not these exits do mean we can go back into the transfer market and maybe get a midfielder. Just been a report coming out at the time of recording this video, so Manchester United may revive their interest in Carlos Baleba if Bruno Fernandes is sold. Brighton's minimum price for him is £100 million. Bruno could still be the subject of a bid from Saudi Arabia club after rejecting a £100 million move from Al Hilal earlier in the summer. Now, that came from Jamie Jackson. Jamie Jackson's actually fairly decent, although he has been a bit hit and miss, I would say, recently as well, suggesting that potentially there could be a late flurry where we sell Bruno Fernandes to the Saudi Pro League for £100 million and then use that £100 million to go and get Carlos Baleba from Brighton. I don't know, is it too late to do those sort of deals? I mean, nothing's impossible. Nothing's impossible, and especially if United have done the groundwork with, the intermediaries, and obviously Bruno would have done some groundwork with his agent and moving to the Saudi Pro League, so they'll have basis of, deals and wages and salaries and stuff. So actually, maybe it is something that is. That is looked into, but it's going to be a lot of movement, and we've got games in between all of this as well. So I don't know. I think it's too little. I think it's too late to do those sort of deals. But never say never in football. Give us your thoughts and feelings on that in the comments. Give us your thoughts on all the other topics discussed in today's video. That's you all up to date with the latest news and transfer updates. Smash a like on the video on your way out. Subscribe to the channel if you're new. See you in the next one.